Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us on today's Sunday interview. I'm Franklin Tambo Jr. Now, the national mourning period for the late 6th Republican President, Edgar Lungu, has been extended by 9 days. Secretary to Cabinet, Patrick K. Kangwa, has announced that the extension begins from the 15th of June to 23rd of this month. On Sunday interview this evening, I host President of the Economic Front Party, Mr. Wynter Kabimba, who served with the 6th president under the Patriotic Front. Remember, you'll have a chance to call in on 25 30 25 or send a message via our Facebook page. Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay. It's a very sad moment, this one. And I imagine that there are mixed emotions that you might be having. And I wonder how easy or difficult it is for you to talk about the late president.
Yeah, frankly, it's difficult when you have lost someone that you interacted with and you knew for many years. I first met ECL at the university in 1979 in the law school. So I've known him from that period up to now, which is a period of maybe 30 years. So to see him depart at this moment, you know, when in my view, he's still a young man. He was still a young man. You know, those of us who are in the mid 60s and towards the late 60s, we are still young men. We still have a lot to do and to offer to this nation and beyond this nation to the world. So I think to see him go at this stage, that this country is in a state of mourning, that ECO is no more, it's a very sad moment.
You seem to have, you have a bit of, I don't know, background or similar, you know, coming from.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, if you read my message of condolences, I highlighted two things in there. And the first thing that I said was that ECO and I shared very similar background. We came from humble backgrounds. Maybe at the time when we went to the university, I don't think each one of us had more than 2 pairs of trousers. And I think not more than 3 shirts. I don't think I had more than 3 shirts when I was when I went to the university in 1978. So that background, I think we shared. The second thing that we shared, coming from that background again, is our academic performance. We performed very well. So that again was something that him and I shared in common. And we graduated the same day. The other thing that we seemed to share in common was our sense for public duty, for public service. Because when we left the university in 1981, ECO went on to join the legal aid department. That was his first employer. In other words, the government of the Republic of Zambia. I went on to join Lusaka City Council, the local government service. So we both didn't go into parastatals. It was very attractive at that time to go into Indeco, you know, to go into Zimuco. He went into Zimuco later, but his first employer was the government of the Republic of Zambia, the Department of Legal Aid. I worked for the local government service for 15 years until I decided to exit. So public service was something that we had in common. And so we went our own ways, and much later we met again in PF. When I joined PF in 2006, I found ECO there. He had already joined. He had already attempted an election as Member of Parliament for Chawama. So we continued to build our relationship in politics now. And if you remember, his first appointment was that of deputy minister in the office of the vice president. I was appointed Minister of Justice. He was later promoted to Home Affairs Minister. And he then started acting as president, you know, when Mr. Sata traveled out of the country. So you can see that him and I have this background that we shared. And I think I knew ECL more than many people, you know, today, even in the Patriotic Front. I don't think there is anybody in the Patriotic Front who shares that kind of history and background with the ECL as much as I do.
You eventually left the PF.
Yes.
And there's some who attribute that to frustration within the PF. In fact, in the context of the late president as a member of the PF and yourself, one seemed to get favor over the other. You felt frustrated and you left. Is that
no? I didn't. No, I didn't get frustrated. I didn't get frustrated. I joined the PF because of Michael Sata and Guy Scott. In 2006, just before the elections, we had a meeting in my office with some of my colleagues that were members of the ZRP, the Zambia Republican Party, which was headed by B.Y. Mwila. We had a meeting in my office. And at that stage, it had become very clear that we would not continue as members of ZRP. So we met in my office one afternoon to decide where we should go. And some of my colleagues, and Silva Masebo was in that group, decided they would go to the MMD. I decided I'll go to PF. And the reason I gave was there's nobody I knew in the MMD, and I knew Michael Sata in PF, and I knew Guy Scott. So I said, I believe in playing politics with the people that I know, not strangers. So I said, you can go to MMD, I'll go to PF. It was at the time when PF had no prospects of ever winning an election in this country. Never. But I still decided that I was better off, I was comfortable in the company of Guy Scott and Michael Sata. So when Michael Sata died in October of 2014, I didn't see, and Guy Scott was no longer an active member or participant in PF. I didn't see who else I would do actually play politics with in PF. So on the 14th of November 2014, I put in a letter of resignation, which I gave to Guy Scott, and I said, I'm out of PF.
Because
so it was not out of frustration. It's because both my colleagues, you know, that I'd followed in the party, were no longer there.
So was it about the party or the people in the party?
It was both.
Okay.
But primarily, it was about the people. The party on its own is nothing if you don't have people to interact with. So it was about the people, and secondly, the party as an organization.
Okay. Let's look at the past week. It's been back and forth, especially relating to parties agreeing on how to proceed with the funeral. And what are your thoughts about what has happened up to this point?
My thoughts in terms of what?
In terms of the progress that has been made.
Well, it is sad. It is sad, frankly, that we've reached this stage where when everybody thought that this was a straightforward matter, that the body will come into the country, you know, as quickly as possible, that the period of national mourning, as declared by the president, would be complied with. Nothing has happened. and I'm not part of government, so I don't know what has been going on, apart from what I read in the social media. And what you pick from the social media is that there has been this back and forth, you know, the wishes of the family, the wishes of ECO himself, the departed. And it has been very difficult to knit things together, to figure out exactly what is going on. And that has made it very difficult, to a point where we have dispirited, you know, the grief of the people. So, you know, we have diluted that grief. You know, people have become fatigued, you know, because they don't understand what is going on. What is it that is a problem? Okay? What is the problem? Why isn't the body here? Why aren't we getting on with the burial? You know, and let the nation get over with this period of grief and move forward. So that I think is what has gripped everybody, and for many people, and I've been talking to many people during this period, they just do not understand what is going on.
Does it call for further conversation about whether or not there should be some explicit write-ups in the Constitution, or whatever form of, I don't know, direction? Because it would appear there's nothing explicit regarding how or what should be how it should be conducted, whether it's a former president or indeed a sitting president, but especially for former presidents.
Franklin, you are right. You know, a moment like this, a situation like this, does not have any written rules. What governs it are what in local government we call conventions, practices that have evolved over time. And practice may change slightly depending on the circumstances of the situation. Okay, so nothing is in writing, and I think that is one of the difficulties that we, you know, or that obtains now from the experience that we have had in this particular situation. But let's visit, you know, let's give it a historical visit a bit. Zambia has had 7 presidents since 1964. Of the 7, 6 have passed away. Or in current English, they call it pass on. You know, I come from the conservative English. 6 have passed away. Of the 6, 3 died out of the country. Okay? So we've got Levi Mwanawasa in August 2008. We got Levi Mwanawasa in 2008.
Michael
Sata in 2014. And now ECL in 2025. 3 died in the country. So we've got FTJ, we've got Arabi, and the KK. Of the 6, again, historically, 3 died during the time when their political parties were in power. So FTJ died when MMD was in power. Levi Mwanawasa died when MMD was in power. Michael Sata died when PF was in power. The other 3 died when their political parties were not in power. So KK died when UNIP was not in power. Arabi died when MMD was not in power. And ECL now dies when PF is not in power. Of the 6 funerals, the best organized funeral, where there was decency, order, and everything was Arabi's funeral in 2022. The most chaotic one, I regret to say, was Michael Sata's in 2014. It was chaos. HH was prevented from attending that funeral. I was prevented from attending that funeral because of the threats of violence and just the whole environment of anarchy and hooliganism that was obtaining and prevailing at the time. In 2021, KK dies in June of 2022. KK dies in June of 2022. HH was prevented from attending that funeral. He didn't mourn KK. Okay? He only came to preside over KK's memorial in 2022 when now he was in power. So, this situation which is obtaining now is not new at all. It's not new. There's been this culture of people not respecting the dead and attempting to use the dead to promote a political agenda. The only reason why HH was prevented from attending KK's funeral is because he was in the opposition, he was going to steal the limelight, or for whatever reason. So, we probably have reached a point where we must put rules in place. But you see, I've always argued, and I've always said this, that you can't legislate attitudes. Okay? Mm-hmm. The law is not intended to legislate morality. How you morally feel and must act in a situation does not require legislation. To allow another colleague in a moment of grief, in a situation of grief such as this one, to mourn in the manner that he believes that he should mourn, does not require any legislation. It requires good leadership, the good mindset of those that are in charge at a particular time. So we had, for example, in 2014, Michael Sata dies. The guys are in charge. And nobody of those that are in charge, nobody is able to look around and say, but where is Wynter? Why is Wynter not here? And Wynter was a minister, you know, in our party, and he was the Secretary General of our party. And he was a good colleague of Michael Sata. Why isn't Wynter here? Why is HH not here? He's a member of the opposition political party. Why aren't colleagues in the UPND here? Because we are mourning a president who was a president for everybody, including those that are in the UPND. Mm-hmm. Those that are in charge do not ask themselves those questions. If they do, they ask themselves wrong questions, or they entertain a wrong environment. So you have all these cadres standing around, you know, and you know, threatening violence, you know, and everybody is very comfortable about that. The only head of state subject to correction that came for Michael Sata's funeral was Robert Mugabe. And he delivered a speech. So, we can't argue that we are we are in this situation because there is no law, because there are no written rules. No. We are in this situation because when you have a passing on of a national leader like this, it seems to me that all of us develop different interests. It happens even at family level. Some people come to attend a funeral just to come and see how much did Wynter own, how much can I walk away with from, from this. People start even grabbing car keys, and putting in the pocket and say, me, I'll walk away with this car. Mm-hmm. Okay? So they don't come primarily to mourn. They come for material things. So even in this situation, it seems to me that there are different conflicting agendas. Now let me tell you this. Maybe this would help to explain the point I'm making. When Robert Mugabe died in 2019, after he had been ousted from power by his own political party, the wife said to ZANU-PF, my husband had left a wish that he must be buried next to his mother in the village. That's what Grace Mugabe said. There was a pulling and pushing between ZANU-PF and Grace Mugabe and some members of the family, because there is an unwritten rule in ZANU-PF that all Liberation War heroes shall be buried at the National Heroes Acre in Harare. There is a designated place for them. And Mugabe had a plot reserved. I remember when I went to attend the ZANU-PF Congress in 2013 on behalf of Mr. Sata, I remember Mugabe, standing up in that, in that conference hall and saying, I went for a photo exhibition before I came here, and I realized all my colleagues that were with me in the Chimurenga, in the revolution, are gone. I'm the only one surviving them, and I'm going to join them soon. So because of that pushing and pulling, ZANU-PF decided to back off. So Mugabe or his wife had a wish. They went and buried him in the village. 2 years later, there was a court order that President Mugabe be exhumed and he must be reburied at the Heroes Acre. And they had to comply with the court order. As we speak today, President Mugabe is buried at the National Heroes Acre in Harare. First incident or situation. The second one is this. When President Eduardo dos Santos of Angola died in 2022, he died in Lisbon, in Barcelona in Spain. The family, led by his daughter Isabel, insisted that President dos Santos be buried either in Spain or in Portugal. And one of the reasons for that was Isabel had an Interpol warrant against her because she was wanted for corruption charges in Angola. And so she realized if the body goes to Angola, she will not attend the father's burial. So she insisted that President dos Santos be buried in either Lisbon or in Spain. MPLA, the political party which had formed government, and that dos Santos served for over 30 years as president, insisted that dos Santos be buried in Rwanda, in Angola. And to find a convergence point between the two parties, the state and the family led by Isabel, the Angolan government waived the Interpol warrant of arrest against Isabel. And she was allowed to travel to Angola, attend the funeral of the father, which brought together the Angolans that that Dos Santos had saved for a period of over 50 years. After the funeral, the government allowed Isabel to travel out of the country and reinstated the Interpol warrant.
Well, that's interesting.
Okay.
So the point here then would appear, because in this country there was a sign that there could be future problems if you consider what was nearly, in fact, was attempted. It went to court for Dr. Kaunda.
Yes.
Where the family said he has to be buried at the farm
next to his wife.
Right.
Yes.
That seemed not to have moved this kind of conversation. Was that taking things for granted? This is not new, like you say.
Yeah.
Shouldn't there have been a conversation from that time that there's a problem here?
Well, look, we are often shy to discuss death. Okay. My father is 89 now, and he's beginning to ail. He's ailing. If I said to my siblings, guys, let's sit down and figure out how we are going to bury, the old man, they all rise against him. Who told you he's dying? Who told you he's going to die? Even as it is obvious that the man has a limited period of time on the planet, on this planet Earth. So we are often timid and shy to discuss death. Look, the only thing that is certain between you and me is death. Life is not certain. I'm not sure that from here, tomorrow I'll wake up alive. Mm-hmm. I can't say for certain that next month I'll be alive. But one thing that I'm certain is that I shall die. That is certain. Okay? But we concentrate so much on discussing life and shy about discussing death. So, answering your question, after Dr. Kaunda's situation, nobody wanted to raise the issue again. Like, who told you that somebody else will die? Okay? So we go back to our usual business until you get to a situation like this again. And I can tell you that even after this, I doubt if anybody is going to say, guys, let's sit down now. What do we do in the future? Because then they'll be saying, are you saying HH is dying? So everybody then withdraws again until you reach another crisis. But I thought I should give the two examples, that happened in the region, not in Europe, not in America, but here in the region.
Right, and hold your thoughts, sir, because now we're joined by callers, viewers who are part of this discussion. I would like to be part of it. We have Mr. Njovu calling from Chibombo. Please go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Okay, yes, I'm Mr. Ernest Njovu from Chibombo. It's just a short contribution. I just wanted to congratulate I've followed you from the time when you were in opposition up to. What I would encourage you is that you are so disciplined. You don't change like a chameleon, usually on principle. So continue with that spirit. And one more thing is that please unite us for a better tomorrow. We are one Zambia, one nation. So keep it up. And I wish you a good health towards the years to come. And all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Your reaction to that?
Well, I'm humbled that somebody is wishing me good health. Health is something that is very expensive these days. So if somebody says, I wish you good health, it's something very humbling that people are able to appreciate. I don't know I don't know him, that people are able to appreciate my contribution to a conversation like this one is very encouraging.
Right.
Yeah.
He says, in fact, he suggests, he talks about your consistency. Truth of the matter is, you being a player in the political space. But before I ask my question, I'd like to go to Mushindamo, where Brian is trying to come in. Brian, please come in.
Hello?
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Sunday Interview. Brian, please go ahead.
Yes, please. I would like also to appreciate the big man, Mr. Wynter Kabimba. Hello?
Yes, please, go
Can I
ahead.
hear you?
Yes, I would like to appreciate the big man, Mr. Wynter Kabimba there. I think he has told us the history, that is what has happened to our president, past presidents from our country and the other countries.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, similar. You were a critic of the late president. You, if just to puncture holes in some of those, should anybody see you differently because of that?
No. Look, perspectives are different. Okay, and people's perceptions are different. People's conclusions about what you say would be different. The truth of the matter is this. I've given you the background about the relationship between ECL and myself. What I can tell you is that I didn't criticize him. I thought that I was telling him what I thought he would do right. Okay? I thought that he had the capacity to do what was right. He had the moral code to do what I thought was right in the interest of the country and in his own interest. Okay? Now let me tell you this. And I want to say this, people may not know this, that I had a relationship with ECL when he was president. I never went to State House. I went to Nkwazi House in 2021. For the period that ECL was in Nkwazi House as the president in the State House, I never went to State House. Anybody that is going to tell you that they saw me at the State House, they'll be lying to you. But I was able to interact with him. Okay? When he had problems sometimes, even with his own family members, if he sent them to me, he referred them to me for counsel. Okay? When he was embroiled in that saga, if you remember, about the plot in Swaziland, I called him. I told him, Mwana, give up this plot. Why are you allowing your name to be dragged in the mud for a Kama plot in Swaziland? Give it up. You can get a plot here. You probably have plots here in Zambia. Stop this. You know what he said? Namvera Mwana. And that thing died down. Okay? But he also knew my character and my values. That where he is wrong, I'll tell him, this, you are wrong. I didn't agree with him for promoting hooliganism in PF, for putting PF on the autopilot where thuggery was beginning to reign. And even when I met him in April of 2021, just before elections at the Nkwazi House, there were two of us. I told him, one of the things that may bring you down is the indiscipline that you have allowed to thrive in PF. I told him. So, frankly, what I say in public, you must know that I've said it in private, even to the person that is involved. That's my way of dealing with people in life. I will not say anything about you publicly or to anybody else unless I've said it to you. So if that's what you mean by having been a critic, then yes, I was. But I thought that I was a good critic to a friend.
Right. One of the statements you've made in your various conversations is that as Zambians, there's a lot of fear for the truth, for stating it as
it is.
As it is.
Yes.
What's your interpretation of the current happenings regarding this funeral?
Well, look, what is clearly at stake, in my view, with what I've seen in the last is this. One, there's politics at play. Very clear. I can amplify on that later. Two, there is, I think, a misrepresentation of ECL's character. What he believed in and what he was. I don't believe myself that ECL would have said that if he died today, he doesn't want HH anywhere near his funeral. I can't believe that. I don't think that would be true. I don't think that it reflects ECL's character. I had many meetings with ECL after he lost power to HH. A number of meetings at his house. He complained about HH. He complained that his family was being persecuted. He whined about the way his family was being handled and himself. But I can tell you, Franklin, and I can swear to the living Lord, that reading ECL's body language and even listening to him, I didn't see the hate in his language, in his face against HH that is being depicted today when he is no more. So for anybody to say that they are doing what they are doing, whether as family or as family representatives or as PF, because that would be the wish of ECL, I refuse. That it cannot be true. It can't be true. There must be something else that people are not able to say. And they are not able to say it because they know it is wrong.
Well, let me bring in another caller. This is Sunday Interview. We have Anusa from Mporokoso. Anusa, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mr. President.
Good evening, thank you.
Thank you so much. We are glad that maybe such a thing has happened at this time, so that maybe as a country we learn something going forward. I think, like you said earlier on, we never saw such a thing happening, but today we are undergoing through this, so that maybe we have a starting point of maybe preparing maybe other things to come in future. Well, it's really unfortunate. The world is watching. Everyone is watching to see how this thing is being handled. And basically, I think you being leaders, being elders, or maybe who have had experience in governance issues, I'm sure this is the time now you need to rise to the occasion together with the church to make sure that maybe some of these issues don't grow out of proportion and we learn something from the experience. I think that's the call that maybe we should, a person I can give to say maybe leaders, political leaders, church leaders, non-organization leaders, and everyone come on board so that maybe some sort of preparation are done so that in the near future we might not be on the spotlight being quoted in different media as Zambia experiencing such a thing. Maybe that's my contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming through. Your comment.
I think the issue, Franklin, of unity, of focusing into the future and correcting, where we tumble is very important. And as Zambians, we must always continue to come together in the spirit of constructing a better society for tomorrow. Because all of us are shareholders in this country. And all of us at one point or another shall leave this country to future generations. So we owe it not only to ourselves, but to those that we are going to bequeath this country to, those that we are going to bequeath the future to, that they find a better place. They find a better atmosphere within which to thrive economically and prosper than what we live in today. So I think it is important for Zambians, you know, but to do that, we must cultivate the correct values, whether in church or outside church. Look, I've said this before, and I hear people like my brother here saying, we need the church, we need the... Yes, we all need the church. But people are not good because they go to church. No. And people are not bad because they don't go to church. No. People are good because they have decided, I shall be good. I shall treat the other human beings as human beings. I shall respect human beings as human beings, not because they go to church. And people are bad because they've just decided they'll be bad. So to think that all solutions are found in the church is not right. There are many people that I know that go to church that are bad people, even in my own family. They are bad people, bad-hearted, but they don't miss church, whether on Saturday or on Sunday. They don't miss church. So I have this philosophy, you know, that to be good, I don't need to be in church. In fact, I tell my wife, I go to church to thank God for what he has done to me, not to take problems to him. I think he has too many problems. I go to church on Sunday to go and thank God that I'm still alive, that my family is still alive, that my friends are still alive. God bless them. I don't go there to complain about my wife or my brother. That's not what I think my relationship with God should be. So, when you have a situation like this, you ought to make it easy for everybody to participate. You can't have a funeral which is exclusive. That's not a funeral in Africa. In Africa, we walk in the compounds, even in the village. You find people are mourning. You know, Wachayakona, Wenda Wankala. Pepani, you know. Pepani, you know. Nobody will say, what are you doing here? What are these wishes that we hear today, that these are the wishes from the family? HH should not receive the body. HH should not be anywhere near the funeral, near the funeral. HH should... What a funeral is this? What a funeral is this? Is this a wedding? This is a funeral. All of us are entitled to grieve, to attend, you know, the last part of ECL's journey. Whatever we thought about him, however we thought about him. And I don't think it is right for anybody to speak, whether in the name of the family, or in the name of PF, or in the name of whatever, that others should be excluded from this family of mourners. HH is head of state, for God's sake. You know what he does? He represents everybody in this country. The fellows in Shangombo that will not be able to travel to attend the funeral are represented by HH as head of state. Those that are in Chadiza and are not able to travel, those that are in Mansa and are not able to travel, their chief representative at this funeral is HH as head of state. Not because he wants to, but he has a core of duty. Right.
There's a last caller who wants to come in. Maybe one of the few callers I have time for. This one is from Lumezi. Peter Gondwe, I'm meant to believe. Please go ahead, Peter.
Thank you very much, Franklin, and please, my appreciation to Wynter after a long time. I am happy this program has brought on board someone that is talking about what we are supposed to do as Zambians at this time, that we are in a mourning period. And let me also appreciate, just as others did earlier, the efforts of the government and the family of our late President, Edgar Lungu. This was really something that was keeping us waiting for a long time. We appreciate that it has been resolved and there is a route map now to whatever is going to take place. I would like to just say that, yes, we have Wynter giving us all the hints, necessary hints as Zambians, that we have to embrace each other as one. But looking at the current situation, let me go back to the last interview that our Foreign Affairs Minister Haimbe had with one of the media stations, where he said, I am not going to make any comment as regards what we are supposed to do and what we are not supposed to do, other than let us have our concentration on mourning, and after burial, that's when we are going to bring on board the issues. Now, from this interview, my observation, so far what I've heard from Mr. Wynter Kabimba is that he's trying to tell people that there is some mishandling of issues somewhere, which is not good. What I am trying to say is, yes, the family of the late ECL might have said this is what the late president wanted for his funeral, and this is not what he wanted. But this is not in our constitution, so we still have to blame our constitution. We have such things written, well stipulated, that what happens when the head of state dies, what happens when the former head of state dies. Other than that, people will keep on having their personal opinions to just bring in whatever is of their preference other than the law that we are supposed to follow.
Right.
So for now what I can say...
Right. Well, thank you. We're going to accommodate other. I think the point is quite made. Unless you want to respond to that. It's
go ahead.
Quite straightforward, and we thank the caller.
Yeah.
When President Jimmy Carter died, one of the standout images was to see the incumbent president of the United States sitting and chatting with former President Barack Obama. And these are political rivals.
Yes.
Do you see that imagery playing out in this situation? You had President Trump, you had President Obama, and it attracted everybody's attention that they were chatting away when it's the background to their relationship in the political sense was well known. Do you see that playing out in our situation?
If I listened well and I understood well, and my interpretation of this evening's press briefing that you aired even after the news, or is there anything to go by? I don't see that. Because in that press briefing, according to the program, HH is not supposed to be at the airport on Wednesday when the body is landing. The people that will be there are family members, but there will be military honors at the airport, but to the exclusion of the commander-in-chief of those army officers that will be doing the honors. The other thing that I picked from the interview, unless somebody can correct me, is that the people to speak at whatever gathering shall be decided upon between the state, between the government and the family. Okay? Now, it sounds like that is still a subject of discussion. So, Secretary to the cabinet will go to the family and say, this is the list of the people that are to speak, and the family would say, no, we don't want this one, okay, unless it is this one, and that kind of thing. That's what I meant by saying this is a funeral which we are trying to administer, to manage by excluding others even when they should be included. And I honestly, personally think that is not the way to go about mourning somebody at the level of the head of state. And I don't think that you need any rules, whether in the Constitution or any subsidiary legislation, to see that that is not the correct way of doing it. So, what then are you trying to achieve? There will be heads of state that will come, and there is a church service on Sunday at the Lungu International Conference Center. What is the problem with telling us that the president will be there is the one, you know, because these are colleagues. And these are people that are not coming because of ECO alone. They are coming to mourn with the Zambian people. That's why they are coming. And I do not think myself, I don't know the list, but I don't think myself that there is any head of state in this region and beyond that ECO knew before he became president. So he knew them when he got the mandate of the Zambian people to lead this country, and he was able to interact with them. Some of them he forged a personal friendship. Some of them they left the friendship as the president level. So they are traveling. One, because they have lost a colleague. Two, because they have to commiserate with another colleague that they are working with now. Three, because we are Africans and Zambia is in mourning. The Zambian people are in mourning. So if this is the correct perspective, you can't, frankly, start segmenting who should be there and who should not be there, and put compartments, you know, as who should be in this group and who should be at this gathering. I appeal and plead with ECO's family to change this spirit in these coming few days and make this funeral a national funeral. The way they are trying to do it is not national. They may have their own views of, you know, about it, but what I find disappointing is when you say these are the wishes of John McCain. I don't know if you remember Senator John McCain in the United States.
Oh, I'll come back to John McCain.
Okay.
Because we've got Trafina from Kabwe. Trafina, go ahead.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening to you, Trafina.
Yeah, I want to appreciate Mr. Kabimba, the way he's coming out in the articulating issues concerning the funeral. I really got something from him, and it's my prayer that may the Lord give him long life so that he'll be there to guide us in times such as this. Because the way he has put on, I've learned a lot of things from him. For this, I say thank you to him and the panel to bring out this program so that everybody is able to follow it nicely with the history which it requires.
Thank you so much. Right, another compliment. But you're on Senator McCain.
I was on Senator McCain. I said I'm dealing with this issue of wishes.
Right.
Okay. John McCain is rival, not even rival, enemy in the US politics was Donald Trump. And if you remember when he was dying, towards the end of his life, he made a wish and said he didn't want Donald Trump to attend his funeral when he dies. John McCain died, Donald Trump didn't attend that funeral. Because McCain said it publicly. It's different from Jimmy Carter, the funeral that you alluded to. So, I want to go back to this point, of appeal. One of the meetings that I had with the ECL, Viesta was seated there. There were three of us, ECL, Viesta, and myself. Okay? And I'm saying this so that people don't think that I'm a stranger to ECL's character and the integrity. Okay? So, I am a witness to that guy's character. And I don't think that what is being said today could come from him.
What if you were wrong in your thoughts?
It is possible. It is possible. I've always said this, frankly, that I always have an opinion, but I don't think that my view is always the best. Okay? So I take time sometimes to talk to myself. I do a devil's advocate in my, but I'm canvassing this situation because I'm talking about a man I knew very well. It's like the way they excluded me from Michael Sattar's funeral. I don't think that is would have been Michael Sattar's wish. Never. Okay? I stayed away from Michael Sattar's 2 memorials. That's by way of a digression. For 2 years, I didn't attend Mr. Sattar's memorials until the wife phoned me and pleaded with me for the 3rd one and said, you must come and attend this funeral, this memorial, and I would like you. We have decided as a family that you must speak. Because I knew the man. I want to go back to this. I knew ECL more than anybody else that is talking about ECL today. More than anybody else. And I want somebody to challenge me there. There will be nobody who can challenge me. So my plea is this. Let's give the man a dignified burial and send off until we meet him again. Is that a very difficult thing to do? No. Those that want to use this funeral as a launch pad for their political careers, if you think your launch pad must be a dead person, then it means you have nothing to say to the Zambian people. Ulibenkani yo kamba. So you just want to stoke the emotions of Zambians about the ECL's death. If you're a proper politician, allow us to bury ECL. Let's go and meet in the field, and you tell the Zambian people what you are and what you can do. And we also shall tell the Zambian people who you are and what you are. Kwasira. Don't hold the ECL hostage. No. So there's politics here at play. Don't forget that there is a vacancy now for the presidency in the PF, which ECL held. So people are jumping about to position themselves. And the easiest way of doing it is to stoke people's emotions now.
Well, we don't know that for a fact.
I'm interpreting it as a politician.
Okay, understood. Yes. Let's bring in another caller. Chenda. Chenda, you're calling in from Lusaka. Chenda, please go ahead.
Yes, please. Good evening, presenter.
Evening to you.
Good evening, thank you.
Good evening, President Wynter Kabimba.
Good evening, sir. Thank you.
Yes, please. I appreciate your contribution and how you are trying to articulate the issues. And I feel this is timely, and at the same time, how I wish this council was brought in, because I can think that somehow, somewhere, there was something which was looming, though it couldn't just come out. Now that we have a funeral, we have lost a life, this is now, people's reactions have come out. So, as someone trying to put it, how I would appreciate if maybe after this morning, we might come together and start to engage each and everyone so that we try to settle down such differences so that we come back to the real one Zambia, one nation. I'm glad that we still have people, elderly, who are there to guide we young ones, because in most cases, it is we young ones who are trying to maybe blow things the way they are not supposed to be. I appreciate your counsel.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. During at funerals, and you made reference to this, the emotions fly around.
Yes.
There are many reasons for those emotions to as they happen. And that's where people will say, don't really pay attention to someone's emotion when they are grieved. They are in anger, or they are a sense of loss, and so on. Having said that, what message then goes out to manage emotions that may prevail because of perhaps what has been read, what has been said, and so on? How do you address this? Because it's not a simple matter. There are people that feel that they have to express anger, emotion, blame, and so on. How do you make them calm?
Look, emotions are part of mourning. You can't mourn without being emotionally engaged or involved. But you also, at the same time, must plan for the funeral and how it shall. You have heard people at a funeral say, imwe na imwe osalira so ndimwe wamuna imwe. Osalira monga bakazi. The point they make is, look, if you are going to continue being emotionally involved, at what time are you going to sit down and start thinking how to put this person to rest? So manage, regulate your emotions. Okay? So the point I'm making, Franklin, is that if you are going to sit down and say, this is a national funeral, but this one should not come, this one should not come, this one should not come, that's no longer emotion. That's a deliberate scheme. It's a designed scheme. You have thought through it. Okay? For you to say the president should not meet the body, that's not an emotional argument. That's not an emotional reaction. That's a well thought out decision. You have reasons, except that you can't disclose those reasons, to the public. But you have the reasons. So we have this situation, But let me also say this so that I put things in the correct perspective. There have been lapses even on the part of government in this matter.
Let's hold that thought. We'll come to the lapses.
Okay.
Obson Hatembo, who joins in. Please go ahead, Obson.
Good evening, Mr. Kabimba.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Franklin Jr.
Evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm so emotional, but I'm trying to be relieved somehow listening to the counsel there, the way he's talking and articulating things. When I see the way things are going through in our country, it's setting a very dangerous pretense from our Christian nation, Zambia, and the future generation, our children that we are raising. I see politicians becoming so careless in the way they are speaking to the general citizenry of this country. What they are speaking is not coordinating to one Zambia, one nation. And out of 72 tribes, over 72 tribes we have in this country, I can sense divisive language and, unwanted behavior that these politicians are talking. If you follow the way the council is talking, he's so uniting, a unifier, someone who is worth to emulate from those that are willing to be leaders or the next politicians. I feel that if the ECZ, they are listening to such programs and they are seeing what is happening on the ground, if there is anything where it can be written from the Constitution or Code of Conduct that any leader, the political leader that stands to speak to the citizenry, the first word they should utter, even on radio stations and TVs, is, I have come here and I want you to unite the people of Zambia. Choose us on the things that we are going to tell you if we are able to do better things. But if we are not, vote for others. I think that one can work better. Not these divisive things that we are seeing. It's so embarrassing for a nation to have a funeral, the mourning being extended for another 9 days. It's so embarrassing. I feel sorry and I feel sad. I feel pain in my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hatembo. You want to react to that?
Yeah, I think that Mr. Hatembo represents the general view. Unity in the mourning of ECL. That's what you find on the street. Okay? And they are not saying that we are mourning a saint. We have to mourn ECL with his strengths and his weaknesses. Because he was human. He was a man of flesh and blood. He was mortal. That's why he's no more today. Okay? But we ought to give him a dignified send-off. We ought to mourn him in peace and in unity as a nation. And because of that, nobody, and I want to repeat, nobody has a right to exclude anybody else from this funeral and its arrangements. To do so is wrong, morally and even spiritually. It is wrong.
Right. You're about to bring out responsibility of government.
I wanted to bring up the responsibilities of government. One, the president, after announcing the death of his former colleague, President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, he should have been the first one to visit Belvedere House, which is the spot designated by government for the state funeral, to sign the book of condolences. Should have been the one to open the book of condolences. In 2012, sorry, when President Mbingu wa Mutharika of Malawi died, and we got the news that he had died, I went to President Sata and I said that you should be the first one to sign the book of condolences at the Malawian High Commission. And we agreed. I phoned the then Secretary to the Cabinet and I said, can you inform the Malawian High Commissioner and tell him that the president will be there tomorrow to sign the book of condolences, and they should not start that program until President Sata has signed the first page of the book. And the following day, I accompanied the president there and other ministers. President Sata was the first one to sign, and I was the second one to sign. So the president's handlers in this situation should have gone to HH and said to him, sir, after you have announced the death of ECL, can we go to Belvedere tomorrow and you sign the book of condolences first? Because he's a chief mourner. This is a state funeral. The chief mourner is the head of state. And that's why it's mischievous to try to exclude him. That's what should have happened. Our colleagues should have gone to the president and said, sir, this is it. Now, I'll tell you what happened in Bingu's case, Bingu Mutarika's case. I went to Malawi for the burial with the Guy Scott as vice president, leading the delegation. During the period when we were there, the few days we were there, I met Dr. Peter Mutarika, the young brother, who later became president. I met him at his residence. And he said to me, did Mr. Sata not come for my brother's funeral because of the beef they had? If you remember, during Bingu Mutarika's, Michael Sata was thrown out of Malawi in a very awkward way. He was thrown out of Malawi when he went to Malawi, you know. And I said to Peter Mutarika, no. In fact, the first person to sign the book of condolences back home at your High Commission was President Sata. It's just that he's tied up with other national duties and he has sent, you know, Peter Mutarika was very relieved to hear that. Because he was suffering from this guilty conscience that Michael Sata was still keeping that beef and the way he was treated by his brother when he visited Malawi. He thought he was still keeping it to heart. So I had to calm him down and assure him that Michael Sata, as far as Michael Sata is concerned, that is gone and he was the first one. So it's important that those that work around the president should help the president in some of these matters. Okay? You can't be looking for the page of the president in that book, in page 58. No. The president is the chief mourner. He should have been the first one to sign the book.
Right. We've got another caller on Sunday interview. Chileshe Chimbini from Kafue. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Evening to you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I just want to go straight to the point. I think we are not being fair Zambians to a leader who is the president, Hakainde Hichilema. Because of this funeral, the way you are showing us, you big leaders, it's like everything is in confusion. And it's because of you big leaders, that's the reason why youth now, they can do anything that they like to do. You'll find we don't have any order. Because there's no way, even the family on this stage, whereby they can come up with that thing of, no, we don't want HH to go on the funeral. No. What are you showing us as youth to perform? Because even HH, he has got those people that he likes. We love them. We love HH. What do you think has to perform on this issue? That's the reason why now confusion is everywhere. People, they are fighting. Think of these children. They are protected, well protected, but they ask somebody trauma combo. Confusion everywhere. Because of the same thing of that this is the wish of Mr. Edgar Lungu. How? Show us the video whereby Barung want that my HH. So when HH is not present on that funeral, how do you think UPND to perform? I don't know why this government, this PF, we are doing this manner or the family. I think it's not the wish of the Mr. Edgar Lungu, no.
Okay, we get you. Thank you so much for coming through. The youth and politicians and statements, and I think he's saying they'll pick the message, but it might be a recipe for confusion.
Yeah. Frankly, let me say.
And it's because of politicians
yes.
like yourself.
Yes, he's very right. Let me tell you this. Politicians in this country, I don't want to speak about countries that I don't know. In this country, we have cut a very bad image. We are not good role models if we ever were. Okay? Nobody in this country has any respect for a politician. We don't keep our words. We don't show honesty. We lack integrity. We are liars. We are not consistent. We contradict ourselves. We perpetrate injustice. Everything. Now, let me tell you this is, incident. I took my car to one of the car dealers for service and attend to a few things. And when they finished, they gave me a bill, sent me a bill on WhatsApp. And I said to the workshop manager, I don't have this kind of money. Now, I know you don't trust politicians, including me. So keep the vehicle until I find money. Because if I tell you, let me take the vehicle and I'll pay you, you may not trust me. And I don't blame you. So keep the vehicle. You know what he said? No, sir, I'll release the vehicle to you. Because I know you shall pay. I said, thank you very much for trusting me. So I got my vehicle. I put down some payment, and I'm yet to finish paying. Robert Chikolete wanted to open a bank account. You know what they told him? You are a politically exposed person, PEP. So we can't open this account tomorrow. He came complaining to me. And he felt insulted. I told him, they are right. There's nothing that you are crying about. They are right. They don't trust us. So we have failed to be role models, to the youth. Because lero wakamba ichi, mairo wakamba ichi. Today you are in this political party, the same man you are praising yesterday, you are denouncing him, the following day. And even those people where you have gone, they are cheering you that you are a hero. Tomorrow, you leave them, you go to another one, So you can't construct leadership like that. You can't grow leadership like that. Okay? So the people must begin to identify leaders. They must have a checklist. I said to one group of lay preachers, that came to our school, for their annual, meetings. I said, how do we end up with corrupt politicians when we come from your congregations? We come from your congregations, and you know us. How do you end up with the corrupt politicians, inconsistent people? I said, how? So there is a way that everybody must play in this thing of what a leader is. Here in this country, you declare yourself a leader. Nobody says you should be a leader. Because you are an employee, there's nothing else to do. The easiest employer is politics. Because there are no qualifications there. You just have to be a human being of adult age. You qualify. Okay? In other countries, frankly, it is Me that comes to you and say, listen, there is a task here, and I think they need somebody to lead us. I believe that you should be the person to lead. Not you kubala kunigwira pamukozi nikale leader ni voted. No.
Right. As we close, what do you think, or what, in your opinion, this must be quite a time for the president.
Yes.
What message do you have for him in handling or continuing to handle this particular occasion?
Yeah. Let me put it this way. If HH were in Wengwa today, if this had been a funeral for one of his relatives, and they told him, we don't want to see you here, don't even bring your animals here to come and slaughter, you know what he would have said? Kajiba, let it be. That's what he would have said. He would have told his wife, let's sit here, Kajiba, ambalege, leave them. He can't say that in this case. He can't say that in this case. Because in this case, he is not his own representative. People must learn to distinguish HH as an individual and HH as head of state. You may not like HH as an individual, but you have no choice but to deal with him as head of state. He has totally different functions and responsibilities as head of state compared with the HH, the individual who has to pay school fees for his children, who needs, to employ people, at his ranch, That's a different, In terms of public duty, he has no choice. So if I were to speak to him, if I had an opportunity, I would tell him, calm down. And also let me put it this way, maybe. I feel ashamed at times when I think about this matter. Because I can tell you that I was the last person who ever thought that HH would be a good leader. That he would be so collected and be calm. In many situations, not only this situation. I was talking to one very senior UPND leader.
I have less than 2 minutes for you.
Just a moment. And I said, I don't know what we are discussing, but you know what he said? He said, you see, the problem is the president. We have told the president that Edgar Lungu, yes, he enjoys immunity against prosecution until we lift, his immunity. But we can start investigating him. You know what he said to me? The president said, no, just leave him. That's HH. And Edgar is going to his grave, he doesn't know about that. And the people today that are saying HH hated Edgar don't know about that. So I said to myself, oh, that's what the president said. He said, yes. I never believed, and I'll be honest with you and with the Zambian people, I never believed that HH would turn out the way he has turned out as president. When I look at all these situations, including this one. So my appeal to him as president is that you are dealing with the human beings of flesh and blood. And therefore, they have 3 characteristics. 1, human beings are bad by nature. 2, human beings are selfish by nature. 3, human beings are ungrateful by nature. And their ingratitude was reflected even during the time of Jesus Christ. And because you are also a man of flesh and blood, but over and above that, you are head of state, you are president of this country, whether anybody likes it or not. Be patient, be calm. The people will give you the good judgment out of this situation. If they want to exclude you from this funeral, the Zambian people will be the judges between you and those that want to exclude you from this funeral. If others think that they can make political capital out of this, they are just wasting their time. The Zambian people know. And they will forgive you and they will punish them.
Sir, we have to go.
I have to go, so.
The Zambians have appreciated your counsel, and thank you for coming for Sunday Interview.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
And that's it, I'm afraid. Sunday Interview, I've been featuring Economic Front Party President Wynter Kabimba, and we hope you appreciated his presence. See you next time. Goodbye.